for that beautiful song. So Sheila and I were talking last Sunday after service about the saying, under the weather. And we both agreed that we knew what we mean when we say someone's under the weather. We mean that they're temporarily feeling unwell, that they're a bit off from their usual feeling good, and that it's not a permanent condition. But I began to wonder where the saying came from and what it originally meant. And so, as they say, when in doubt, Google it. So I did. And this is what I found. When a sailor became ill or seasick, often because of violent weather conditions, that sailor was sent below deck to the most stable part of the ship, which was under the weather rail. It was the below deck area on the side of the boat that faces the wind. The original phrase, under the weather rail, was shortened to the idiom, under the weather. So, today it's part of our communication with each other. We say it and so many other idioms and similes and metaphors, and we all know what they mean. I mean, when we say someone is like a bull in a china shop, we know what that means. When we say you're a peach, we know we don't mean you're a piece of fruit. And when we say time is money, we know that we mean don't waste it. And since we all know what we mean when we say the things that we say, it doesn't matter what the origin of those things are unless you're just curious. But sometimes the original meaning of something does matter, whether we're curious or not. Because some things mean something different than we think they do. And they become much more clear and so much more meaningful when we understand the intention behind the words we hear. Now, over the centuries, right up to this present moment, inaccurate translations and interpretations of many things have caused confusion. And misunderstandings about customs and concepts here in our country and around the world have led to conflict. And no mistranslation, no misinterpretation, and no misunderstanding is more divisive than when it comes to the meaning of the Bible. Now, as many of us know, the Bible is filled with idioms and similes and metaphors. A simile is something is like something. A metaphor is something is the nature of something else. One is like, the other is it's that. So, in the Bible, they were used a lot, and they were intended to make complex spiritual truths more simple to understand by the people that the Bible was written for long ago. I mean, just as Shakespeare or Milton or Browning spoke and wrote in the vernacular of the English-speaking people, Moses and the prophets and the apostles spoke and wrote for their own communities in the vernacular of the Aramaic language that included plenty of idioms and similes and metaphors. There are 250 of them, more than 250 of them in the Bible. They used sayings familiar to the people of that time so that even the unlearned or unschooled might understand. Now, when it came to the teachings of Jesus, he rocked at it. He used parables, allegoric stories, and similes. This is like that. And metaphors like this is the nature of that. He spoke of many things. And he used these things to explain deep truths that were beyond words, using words people could recognize, and hopefully it would lead to a greater spiritual understanding for them. Now, most people that Jesus spoke to were farmers and fishermen and simple country people. And so he told them that the kingdom of heaven was like a treasure that a man found in a field, and he hid it. And because of his joy, he went out and sold everything he had so he could buy that field. He said the kingdom of heaven is like a net which was thrown into the sea and gathered fish of every kind. And when Jesus spoke of God and God's one creation, he used metaphors. This is that in nature. And so he said, God is our Father, and Christ is the Son of God. His followers understood God as a Father from whom they could eventually receive something good. Because back in those days, a man received whatever he had or would ever have from his father and his father's lineage. Why not inherit from God, the Heavenly Father, once they got to heaven? Jesus used the idea of father because no one at that time received anything from their mother. Women didn't own anything to pass on to anyone. But the word father meant to convey the heavenly source from which all that exists comes or ever will come. Meant to convey the pure, positive energy of love from which all that live inherit all that is. The word father left many then and now with a concept of God as a masculine being, even a big guy in the sky, separate from themselves, and not the non-physical source energy of life that is neither male nor female, but is both, just the same, and gives to all. So rather than an experiential sense of their oneness with the pure vibration of the love that created them and would love them and all that is forever, rather than understanding that all earthly beings are spiritual beings, born of God, simply having a human experience while still remaining inseparable from the life of God, because everything in the universe is the life of God expressing. because of their own separate sense of a human self. And their identification totally with that self, many still believe that they themselves were separate from the world around them and separate from God, and that God was only the Father of Jesus. And when Jesus talked about the Christ, the Son of God, he was talking not only about the life within him, but the life within all. He was talking about Christ as the eternal, ever-expanding creation that originated in God before time. He said of the Christ, timeless truth, I speak to you. Before Abraham was, I am. He was speaking of the birth of the one Son, the only Son of God, the one creation that existed even before the birth of earth. Jesus was so clear about Christ as the one creation, as the infinite, universal I am that is everywhere life is, that is expressing itself forever, even as himself. Excuse me. He said, I am light. I am the vine. I am the life and truth and way. In A Course in Miracles, we read, in his complete identification with the Christ, the perfect Son of God, his one creation and his happiness forever like himself and one with him, Jesus became what all of you must be. But when Jesus said, I am, without ego, fully aware that all life must be the Christ, because no one else thought of themselves the way Jesus did. Most misunderstood them, and many do now, and believe that Jesus was only talking about himself. Which brings us to the title of today's talk, On My Father's Side. Now, we all have physical traits that we attribute to our earthly fathers. I mean, for example, I attribute my brown eyes and olive skin to my father because my mother had gray eyes and fair skin. So there was a definite resemblance to my father. And if someone were to tell me that my brown eyes, I got my brown eyes from the neighbor down the street, or I got my olive skin from my first grade teacher, I wouldn't believe them. We all know that it's not possible to inherit any physical traits from any other source but our parents and our family lineage. But do we know? It's not possible for us to inherit anything real, even to have these physical forms, from any other source but our Father. The non-physical energy of love that created us. How often do we speak of ourselves in negative or limited ways? How often do we not see our own beauty and preciousness. How often do we say, I'm not capable, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not wealthy enough, and besides, there's just not time enough for me to live the life I want to live. When we believe that who we are is limited to this earth life and our past experiences in it, we're under the weather. We're feeling a little off from our natural state of feeling good. We're not experiencing the well-being that belongs to us as the expression of God's creation on earth. It's not a permanent condition. In fact, it's an illusion. But it'll stay with us until we feel better about ourselves. And we accept who we truly are. God's one creation, his happiness, forever like himself and one with him. On our Father's side, we are the non-physical energy of love, of joy, of peace, inseparable from our origin forever, inseparable from our source. We've come to this earth side to express the love of God in form, out here. The joy of creation within us, in manifestation out here. And we are here to be the very presence of peace on earth. On our Father's side is the most stable part of this earth ship we're on. When we take refuge there, when we take refuge in the truth, beneath what appears to be, we're far less disturbed by the happenings in this world, no matter how rocky they get. When we're aware of who we truly are, if only for a moment, that awareness allows the truth about us to express as us in that moment. And as it does, there's no mistaking who we take after. Paulo Coelho wrote, "We are travelers on a cosmic journey, stardust, swirling and dancing in the eddies and whirlpools of infinity. Life is eternal. We have stopped for a moment to encounter each other, to meet, to love, to share. This is a precious moment. It is a little parenthesis in eternity. We have inherited the earth with all the rest that is or will ever be as an amazing time-space environment in which we get to express more and more of the one life that we share together, the one self. On a cosmic journey, forever, born of God before time began. if we don't accept that we are born of God, if we don't choose to live as that one and see that one in everyone, then Christmas will truly be just about Jesus. And though that was a miraculous, extraordinary earth life and well worth a singular celebration, if we are to live our truth as the Son of God, as the one creation, then we need to know that our life on earth is worthy of celebration too. Namaste. All right. Well, this is the time of our service when we have an opportunity to say thank you. And before I begin my thank yous, Reverend Kim has some that she'd like to share.
I want to start by just expressing gratitude, such deep gratitude, to 5 women who have just completed a 10-week course called Welcoming Abundance. And if there's any question that Spirit works through everyone, everywhere, all the time, every single talk that Reverend Stephanie has given on every Sunday has correlated so beautifully with every single week of class that we've been having. And she's not doing it, I'm not doing it. So thank you, God. So this class was all about deepening our awareness of the presence of God, of that I am, of that God within, in our finances, in our relationships, in our health, in our creative expression. And we experienced how we can fully participate in divine flow and consciously and constantly allow it in our lives. To give you a sense of the ideas that we were playing with, here's one of the 10 statements that we dove into and unpacked. Not only for understanding, but to truly know that it's the truth of our being and to live it. So this was statement number 9. When I am aware of the God self within me as my total fulfillment, I am totally fulfilled. I am now aware of this truth. I have found the secret of life, and I relax in the knowledge that the activity of divine abundance is eternally operating in my life. I simply have to be aware of the flow, the radiation of that creative energy, which is continuously, easily, and effortlessly pouring forth from my divine consciousness. I am now aware. I am now in the flow. So that's one of 10 statements that we really lived in and continue with. Even though the class is over, now what we do is we're living it, we're being it. So I asked the class if they'd write a few words about their experience of this class or other classes they've taken. And here's what they have to say. Kathy wrote, I am grateful to be part of class each week. I have grown so much spiritually and have increased my awareness and commitment to release any resistance and allow all good to come into my life. I have enjoyed the experience of each book and appreciate Reverend Kim's guidance along the way. I would encourage others to take a class with us. I look forward to the next book. Thank you. And Sheila wrote, the time that I have spent in class has enriched my life. It has made me understand the abundance that has enriched my life. I am grateful for the perspective on how God is within me and how I have been blessed. And Sandy wrote, I have enjoyed expanding my spiritual beliefs with all the different classes that Reverend Kim has taught. There has been such a wide variety of authors and books that we have studied, enjoyed, and learned from. I look forward to learning what the next one will be about. And Rosemary, who's not here today, and I didn't get anything from her, but I'm going to share just a real quick thing that at the beginning of class, in a lot of the statements, there's the phrase lavish abundance. And at the beginning of class, she wasn't comfortable with that phrase because, we're all taught not to, enjoy lavish things. And when I asked her in our last class how she felt about that phrase, she said, it's good. And Linda wrote, I have never been a religious person, though I believed in a higher power, and I called that higher power God, because that is all I've ever known. But he wasn't an elderly man with a long beard and robes that lived in the sky. So because my thoughts were not traditionally Christian, I called myself spiritual, though quite frankly, I wasn't exactly sure what that meant either. I always hoped that one day I'd find a like-minded community to help me sort it out. And then I found LEC. What a blessing. The lovely Reverend Stephanie gives such love-inspired talks each week. Reverend Kim's online classes are fun and motivating. Having just finished a class on abundance, I am so looking forward with excitement to my impending retirement soon. Though I know that there is so much more for me to learn, I can say with all honesty that my spirituality and faith has grown exponentially. There are no strangers at LEC. Each and every person is friendly and loving, and all of their hugs are real. I love you all, and I can't believe how lucky I am to have found you. I feel like I'm home. This is what we do here. This is what we do on Sundays. This is what we do during classes. You are all invited, whether you're watching from home or you're here, to join us in our next class, to join us in this love fest that we have, and to share in the gratitude that we all feel for what is LEC.
I don't need that. Keep it. All right. Well, that was beautiful. And we're all about lavish abundance here at LEC. We don't have any trouble with that word, and we know Rosemary doesn't either. And thank you for all that you do to share your lavish abundance. And abundance is not only financial, it's about the love that you share, the joy that you share, just the support. It's a beautiful thing. Abundance is just about the giving and the sharing. We're here in this parenthesis of time to share together, and that's what abundance is, to share from the abundance within us to each other. It's a beautiful thing. We are so blessed, and we're blessed to have Reverend Kim as a teacher. And we know that everyone here, you're already supporting us because you're here, and also financially, because you know that we're on a journey here at LEC. We're journeying to a new home, and so far none of us are feeling seasick. So to keep us on even keel, financial support is a good thing. And if you'd like to join us just for the joy of the journey, then our treasurer, Dr. Jamie Phillips, is going to tell you how.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, these are some ways you can help us on our journey. If you're watching from Facebook, you can go to facebook.com/Life Enrichment Center and hit the donate button. You can go to our website, lecflint.com, and there's a donate button on that site. We have a PayPal email address. It's lec2512@gmail.com, and you can donate via PayPal. You can send us a check, and we will cash it. And our P.O. Box, our Life Enrichment Center, P.O. Box 321294, Flint, Michigan 48532. And here in the sanctuary, we'll be taking up an offertory while we listen to our own Marcia Allen singing in this very room. Thank you.